Bonjour. Welcome to Chapter 2. Chapter 2, Part 1, Vocabulary, introduces le temps. Le temps can mean, according to context, the weather. If someone says, quel temps fait-il? They're asking, what's the weather like? What's the weather doing? Quel temps fait-il? If someone says, il est temps, that means it's time. J'ai du temps. I have time. The book gives you two examples. Le temps est agréable aujourd'hui. Here, le temps means weather. And you can see in the word le temps, you can see température. Quelle température fait-il? Is, what's the temperature? In French, you would say, quelle température fait-il? And respond, il fait, and then in Celsius, 14 degrés, 15 degrés, 10 degrés. Also, you have this, Olivier regarde la télé quand il a le temps, when he has time, le temps. Some of you may recognize the expression tempus fugit, time flies, n'est-ce pas? Let's begin this lesson, which is about telling time in terms of dates and telling le temps in terms of weather, just with some vocabulary like this. L'averse.
L'averse.
Is a shower. You can have une averse de neige ou une averse de pluie. Les averses.
Le brouillard.
Le brouillard. Fog.
Le ciel.
Le ciel. And you hear sometimes le ciel est couvert, for it being overcast.
Le ciel est couvert.
Le ciel est couvert.
La neige.
La neige. Snow. Des nuages.
Des nuages.
So you could say le ciel est couvert. You could also say le ciel est nuageux, or il y a des nuages.
L'orage.
L'orage. And then you could say le temps est orageux.
L'ouragan.
L'ouragan. That's a hurricane. You don't get many of those in France.
La pluie.
La pluie. Rain.
La tornade.
La tornade. A tornado.
Le verglas.
Le verglas. So if I go over here to France Inter, or if I go to any kind of weather link, you'll see forecasts. Sometimes they print out the bulletin. Sometimes you hear them, where you'll be able to just, with your beginning French level, be able to understand certain words that are thrown in, like cet après-midi, pluvieux sur le quart sud-est, nuageux et encore frais sur le reste du pays. So you hear pluvieux, so that comes from la pluie. Nuageux, that comes from les nuages. Susan, it goes on, l'après-midi s'annonce encore bien frisqué, mais des éclaircies assez belles. So frisqué is kind of frais, that means chilly. Des éclaircies, so that means partly sunny. Des éclaircies gives you a sense of when the sun peeks out of the cloud and you get moments of sun, partly sunny. Le temps s'assèche également sur les pays de la Loire, mais le soleil n'y fait que de courtes apparitions. So you see the weather forecast, when you hear it, it's in a more complex French. But at this point, what you want to be able to do is just to recognize certain words here and there. Le ciel reste plus chargé et humide. Here, in this, le ciel reste chargé et humide, avec des pluies et des bruines éparses. Pluie, rain. Bruine is kind of a fine mist. Sur le sud de l'Aquitaine et de Midi-Pyrénées jusqu'au Midi toulousain, prévoyez des averses, so I recognize some showers, des averses plus fréquentes, de la neige des 700 mètres sur les Pyrénées. So I'm seeing here showers, and then as you get higher into the mountains, snow. Sur le quart sud-est, les pluies se généralisent Elle reste faible en Auvergne et Rhône-Alpes, mais se renforce sur les régions méditerranéennes et notamment sur le bord de mer. So here maybe you can recognize les pluies and you recognize faible, weak in these areas, but se renforce, which is a way of saying they get stronger in the Mediterranean and along the coast. L'orage, grande sur le sud de la Corse. So l'orage, so we have a storm. And then as we go higher into the Massif Central, pluie-neige, which is kind of like slush. We saw neige fondante elsewhere once in class. Le Mistral is the wind that they get on the southern coast. Souffle plus modérément dans son domaine. Ces vents finissent par repousser les pluies, so vent, pluie. Les températures restent très en dessous des normales, 14 à 17, 12 à 15, 12 sur le reste de la moitié sud, 6 à 9 degrés au nord. So what I've just shown you is how to kind of find your way through a weather forecast where you don't understand everything, but you understand certain adjectives and certain nouns, like la pluie ou pluvieux. Les nuages, nuageux, le ciel couvert, le ciel des éclaircies, for when it's partly sunny, les températures. Now let's go back to your book and look at this expression. Quel temps fait-il? Now, as we leave the weather forecast lingo, and let's go into how people speak in day-to-day life. We learn, quel temps fait-il? This expression, quel temps fait-il? What's the weather like? And the response is always going to be, il fait, il fait. Or, il pleut, or il neige. So if le temps est pluvieux, if le ciel est couvert avec des pluies, you say, il pleut. If le ciel est couvert, you'll say, il fait mauvais. If the ciel n'est pas couvert, if le ciel est beau, if le ciel est bleu, le ciel est dégagé, you'll say, il fait beau. The weather is nice. Or il fait bon. The weather is good. It's warm. If le ciel est couvert, chargé, humide, lourd, you'll say, il fait lourd. It's muggy out. It's humid out. When you're talking about the weather to people, all you need to say is, il fait. If it's nice out, il fait beau. If it's not, il fait mauvais. If it's pretty nice, it's warm, il fait bon. If it's humid, il fait lourd. And if it's hot, il fait chaud. And if it's cold, it could be chilly, il fait frais. Or it could be cold, il fait froid. So you're responsible to making expressions work for you. You see the weather is, le ciel est couvert, le ciel n'est pas dégagé, le ciel n'est pas bleu. You say, il fait gris, il fait lourd, il fait mauvais. Le ciel est bleu, le temps n'est pas couvert, it's dégagé, it's kind of freed of clouds. Then you say, ah, il fait beau, or il fait du soleil. If il y a du soleil, there is sun, alors il fait du soleil. And il fait du soleil, maybe it's the winter time, il fait du soleil, et il fait froid. Maybe it's the summertime, il fait du soleil, il fait chaud. Maybe il fait gris, il pleut. It's raining. Maybe in the middle of winter, or during the changing of the seasons in autumn or in spring, il fait du vent. Or maybe it's the summertime. Il y a un orage. There's a storm. Il fait du vent. Il pleut. And in the wintertime, il neige. Il fait froid. So these are the basic weather expressions that you are responsible for learning so that you can talk about the weather. You can also talk about temperatures. If il fait froid, you can then add, il fait 10 degrés, ou il fait 5 degrés, il fait 0 degrés. I'm talking, of course, in Celsius. Quelle température fait-il? Il fait 20 degrés. Il fait 25 degrés. Oh là là, il fait chaud. Now you know how to talk about weather. In the next lesson, we're going to also start talking in terms of prévision. Prévision, that's when you do the forecast. On annonce le temps qu'il va faire, n'est-ce pas? Il va faire beau. Il va faire froid. Il va faire chaud. Il va. That's the futur proche that we will be learning in our next lesson. So stay tuned.